Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I've got another pair of earphones that I received from Linsoul Tech, and they are the Shozy Hibiki Mk2s. As always, I'll drop a link in the description below of where you can purchase them from if you wanted to check them out for yourself. Now, if you're a longtime subscriber to my channel, you'll remember that I reviewed the Shozy Hibiki Originals, to which in short were an overall pretty good sounding pair of earphones. So like those original Hibikis, these Mk2s are pretty identical to those in terms of the design, price, and even sound. So for the sound, you have a 10mm full range single dynamic driver. It does a good job at producing those lows, mids, and highs. So the bass is nice and punchy, the mids are balanced, and for the highs those are a little bit more pronounced. So the earphones, I'd still consider them to be warm sounding, but with that said, when compared to the original Shozy Hibikis, these Mk2s were a tiny bit brighter, giving these slightly more cleaner sound, but honestly it's not by that much. Basically these were tuned to be slightly brighter than the original Shozy Hibikis, for that extra detail within the highs, and that's basically it. Everything else pretty much sounds the same. At least to me it does. To which, by the way, considering these are identical in terms of the design, you should also check out my review for the original Hibikis. That is if you wanted to get a more in-depth overview on the specs for both of these. Otherwise, like I said, sound was pretty much the same, except for these Mk2s being a tad bit brighter. For the design and build, we have that same carbon fiber faceplate design on the top front of the shell that we also have on the original Shozy Hibikis. So they're identical there, except for on these new versions, the Shozy Hibiki text has been removed and a logo has been added. Another almost minute change, as you can see, is the bottom part of the shell is glossy as opposed to the matte finish on the originals. Now just looking at the shells, you would think that from all the room given, with these shells being that they are very large, they throw in an extra driver, maybe even a BA driver, but unfortunately they didn't. So who knows, maybe they'll do this on their next revision of these Hibikis. And the reason I say this is mainly because of the instrument separation generally being more superior on earphones with multiple drivers. So while these as a single driver pair of earphones do have decent instrument separation, I believe having an extra driver within the shells would add to that instrument separation in the best way possible. Moving on now to the cable. So just like the originals, you have the removable 2-pin 0.78mm ethos black braided cable with memory style earhooks, but there's no metal inside, which to me is more preferable, so long as you have some weights in the back like you see here. The good thing about having a removable cable is the luxury and convenience of being able to have the cable replaced if it ever gets damaged, to which not just any 2-pin 0.78mm cable will work with these, at least not to my knowledge. You'll either need to get the proprietary Shozy cable or fashion yourself one out, and by that I mean carve out the edges of a KZ 0.78mm cable so that you're able to fit them in the smaller ports of these Mk2s. Moving along the cable, there's an inline transparent 3-button remote with a microphone just like on the originals. So you have the volume up and down buttons and the play pause button. The buttons have that tight tactile response when pressed. And here's an audio sample of what the microphone sounds like. This is what the microphone sounds like on the Shozy Hibiki Mk2s, and I'm using the voice memo app on my iPhone 6 to record this audio. And then lastly, you have the L-shaped 3.5mm jack. And now for the fit. So within my relatively large ears, they fit a lot better than most in-ear earphones, since again they are quite large. But if you're one with smaller ears, these might be too large for you. Now in terms of fit and stability, these need that pushback into my ears every once in a while, but for the most part they do a good job at staying in my ears. Actually, here's a comparison with the ZS10s. I just want to give you guys an idea of how much better the Mk2s stay in as opposed to the ZS10s, which are also quite large. And while we're on that note of the ZS10s, since some of you out there might ask me which ones are better, and considering they're similarly priced, well actually the ZS10s are about 20 bucks cheaper, but anyway, the ZS10s sound better overall. So you have better instrument separation, better soundstage, and just overall cleaner sound on the ZS10s. But now if I had to pick between the Shozy Hibiki Mk2s or the ZS10s, I think that I'd go for the Mk2s, for the main reason being that they're just so much more stable within my ears. So it's a bit of a sacrifice on the sound of the ZS10s, but that good fit on the Mk2s is well worth it. Actually, I'm kind of curious to know which you would prefer. So I'll drop a poll on this video between the two options and I'll post that card above. I'm really interested in seeing which one will score higher. One last thing that I want to speak about with these earphones before I over and out is the ear tips. So these ship out with a total of 3 standard plain pairs of silicone ear tips, just like with the original Shozy Hibikis. And honestly, the ear tips are not that good. So if you happen to end up getting these, then I'd highly recommend you also get yourself a variety pack of ear tips, since you will require that good seal in order to hear the sound properly. I'll drop a link in the description below to an inexpensive variety pack, along with everything else that I spoke about in this video. So guys, that's it for this review. Don't forget to leave your comments below. I always like to read what you guys have to say. Also, like this video if you found it helpful, and hit that subscribe button to see more content like this in the future. For now, thank you all for watching, and as always, I'll catch you on the flip side.